Your time and energy are precious. They are not just minutes on a clock or hours in a day, they are the very currency of your life. Every thought you think, every action you take, every ounce of emotional investment you make is part of this currency. And the way a man treats you, the words he chooses to speak, the energy he expects from you, these are not trivial matters, they are the measure of how much he values you. There is a subtle, almost imperceptible signal in every interaction. When a man disrespects your time, when he expects your presence without appreciation, when he drains your energy without giving back, he is telling you, without needing to say it outright, that he does not see you as valuable. Think about it. How many moments have you given away for someone who did not even notice they were taking them? How many conversations have you stretched to accommodate excuses, delays, or half-hearted words that never matched the effort you put in? Life is a series of moments, and each moment you spend waiting, hoping, compromising for someone who does not honor your presence is a moment stolen from yourself. Your energy is finite. Your patience is not a limitless resource. And yet, so often, women pour themselves into relationships, friendships, and situations that do not reciprocate, believing that persistence will turn indifference into affection, laziness into action, or carelessness into respect. But the truth is, energy given freely to those who do not deserve it is never returned. It is dissipated, drained, and sometimes even exploited. Your presence alone is a gift. When you are in a room, your thoughts, your attention, your very being should not be taken lightly. A man who truly values you does not squander it, does not treat your availability as a given, does not assume that your time can be manipulated or stretched to meet his convenience. Your time is not a test for him to pass or fail. It is a reflection of the priority you deserve. Every delay, every unfulfilled promise, every word said casually without consideration chips away at the respect you are owed. It is not just about punctuality or schedules. It is about recognition. It is about acknowledgement that your life has rhythm, your mind has limits, and your heart cannot endlessly absorb indifference without consequence. Energy is not merely physical. It is emotional, mental, and spiritual. When you engage with someone, when you share your thoughts, your laughter, your hopes, your fears, you are offering your energy. You are revealing a part of yourself that cannot be replaced. And it is not just given lightly, it is sacred. A man who does not recognize the weight of that energy, who treats it carelessly, who asks for it without reverence, is not respecting your essence. He is not recognizing that every smile, every word, every glance you offer is a reflection of your choice to include him in your life. And if his words, his attitude, or his actions reveal a lack of appreciation, it is not your responsibility to stretch, explain, or endure. It is a warning, a clear indicator that this is a man who will never see your worth in the way you deserve to be seen. There is a profound strength in understanding that your time and energy are boundaries, not privileges. They are not meant to be given to anyone who does not treat them with care. Walking away is not weakness, it is awareness, it is clarity. It is saying without words that your life, your moments, your mental and emotional well-being are non-negotiable. A man who cannot respect that is a man who is not worth your investment. Every relationship, every connection, every interaction is a choice. And choosing to protect your time and energy is not selfish, it is wise. It is the act of a person who knows that life is too short to be wasted on those who do not appreciate what is offered freely. Imagine your energy as a river. When it flows into soil that is fertile, that river nourishes, it grows, it strengthens life around it, and it returns in ways that sustain you. But when it pours into barren land, rocky soil that refuses absorption, it evaporates, it disappears, leaving nothing behind. Your attention, your love, your laughter, your presence, these are not endless resources. They deserve to be received by hearts and minds that are ready to nurture, to honor, to reciprocate. A man who does not value this is not only wasting your time, he is wasting a part of you that cannot be replaced, that should never be treated lightly. Understanding the value of your time and energy is liberation. It is the realization that your life is not a rehearsal, and every second, every heartbeat, every thought is precious. It is the courage to walk away from those who disrespect, ignore, or belittle this value. It is the power to choose spaces, people, and experiences that honor the investment of your life. And in doing so, you do not just protect your time, you elevate it, you sanctify it, you transform it into a force that attracts respect, love, and alignment. When a man speaks words that undermine your presence, that dismiss your needs, that expect more than he is willing to give, hear it clearly. Listen to it as the truth it carries. And remember that your time and energy are precious, not negotiable, not dispensable, and never to be taken for granted. Words reveal true intentions. They are the unfiltered reflections of the mind, the fingerprints of the heart, the mirror of character. A man can dress his actions in grand gestures, promises, or superficial charm, but his words, precise, deliberate, or even careless, cannot lie. Listen carefully, for it is not what he says once or twice in passing that matters, but the consistent language he chooses, the way he addresses you, and the tone behind his statements. Words are the foundation upon which behavior is built, and they speak louder than any fleeting moment of affection or convenience. A man who says one thing but does another is signaling to you the alignment of his priorities, not just in this moment, but in the future he envisions for himself. And whether you are included in it with respect, it is easy to be seduced by words that are pleasant, flattering, or reassuring. I'll call you later. I need time. You're overthinking. These are phrases that, when used sparingly, may seem harmless, even reasonable. But patterns reveal the underlying intention. Words that repeat without corresponding action are not mistakes. They are declarations of what a man truly intends, what he values, and how much he is willing to invest. Language is never neutral. It carries weight. It signals care, neglect, respect, or disregard. A man who consistently speaks with disregard for your feelings is signaling a lack of consideration, a lack of empathy, a lack of alignment with someone who deserves loyalty and presence. Every phrase a man chooses has an energy behind it. Some words lift, some words drain. Some words create security, others create doubt. Some words invite intimacy, others erect distance. A man who genuinely values you will use his words to build, to affirm, to inspire trust. He will speak with clarity, with intention, and with respect for your mind and heart. Conversely, a man whose words are careless, dismissive, manipulative, or contradictory is revealing, intentionally or not, the true boundaries of his care. Words are rarely innocent. They carry the imprint of thought and reflection. When repeated in certain patterns, they speak a louder truth than any grandiose gesture ever could. Consider the ways a man communicates when he feels challenged or confronted. Does he deflect, diminish, or manipulate with language? Does he resort to sarcasm, guilt, or blame? Or does he engage with honesty, respect, and clarity? His responses reveal his intentions far more than any elaborate promise of future change. It is easy to speak when everything is smooth, when no one challenges your comfort or convenience. True intentions emerge in moments of tension, disagreement, and choice. Words spoken in these moments expose whether a man sees you as a partner, a convenience, a conquest, or a lesson. The consistency of his language in small and large moments alike paints a portrait of his character. Silence too is a word. The absence of meaningful communication, the lack of follow-through on promises, the withholding of transparency, all of these speak volumes. A man who avoids difficult conversations, evades accountability, or uses silence as a weapon is revealing intention without needing to articulate it. Words are not only the statements we hear, but also the spaces between them. A gap filled with excuses, avoidance, or empty reassurances is as revealing as any spoken declaration. Pay attention to the rhythm of his speech, the timing of his words, and the intention behind them. True intentions rarely hide for long. They manifest in patterns, timing, and tone. Women often overlook the weight of language, believing that actions alone are the measure of truth. But actions without words can be hollow, and words without aligned action are dangerous. Both must be considered in tandem. A man who promises, reassures, or flatters without sincerity is using words as a tool to manipulate perception rather than as a reflection of genuine intention. This is why it is essential to treat his language with the seriousness it deserves. Words are windows into the soul. They are the unedited statements of desire, fear, or indifference. To ignore them is to ignore the roadmap of his mind, the blueprint of his priorities, and the reflection of how he truly values you. Every relationship is built on communication, and communication is built on words. Words are the vessels through which respect, care, commitment, and authenticity are delivered. A man who respects your presence will choose words that elevate, not diminish, that include, not exclude, that reflect care, not indifference. Pay attention to the nuances, the qualifiers, the half statements, the casual dismissals disguised as humor, They are not minor details, they are the signals of intention. Intentions are revealed slowly, often subtly, but consistently. If the words you hear create confusion, frustration, or imbalance, take them seriously. They are a mirror reflecting what he prioritizes, what he respects, and what he is willing to invest in your connection. Understanding that words reveal true intentions is not about cynicism. It is about clarity. It is about recognizing that language is a tool of truth when observed carefully without ignoring context, emotion, or action. Words are gifts and warnings, reflections of thought, and signals of value. A man who truly desires you will speak in a way that honors your presence, communicates with integrity, and mirrors his actions. A man whose words consistently undermine, confuse, or diminish is revealing his boundaries, and they do not align with the love, respect, and partnership you deserve. Self-worth is non-negotiable. It is not something that can be borrowed, bargained for, or earned through someone else's approval. It is the foundation upon which your life, your choices, and your relationships are built. Every decision you make, every boundary you set, and every interaction you engage in reflects the measure of the value you place upon yourself. When a man disrespects you, dismisses your feelings, or undermines your choices, he is not merely being difficult, he is challenging the standard of worth you have set for yourself. And this is why self-worth is non-negotiable. It is not about ego, pride, or arrogance. It is about recognizing that your time, your energy, your love, and your presence are not commodities to be exploited. They are sacred, they are finite, and they demand recognition, respect, and reciprocity. It is easy to convince yourself that compromise is a sign of love, that tolerance is a measure of strength, or that enduring disrespect is simply part of being patient in a relationship. But when compromise begins to erode your boundaries, when tolerance becomes submission, when endurance becomes exhaustion, you have crossed the line from love into self-neglect. Self-worth is the compass that keeps you aligned. It is the inner voice that whispers, even when fear, desire, or loneliness scream, that you deserve respect, honesty, and consistency. A man who cannot honor this standard is not worthy of your investment. This is not about punishment or rejection. It is about acknowledgement of the truth your value is intrinsic, and it does not fluctuate based on his whims, moods, or insecurities. Many women make the mistake of allowing their sense of worth to be defined by how a man treats them. They interpret charm as respect, attention as commitment, and words as loyalty. But self-worth is the recognition that these external validations are temporary, fragile, and often misleading. A man's approval, affection, or admiration does not create your value. It merely mirrors how well he recognizes it. You are valuable because you exist, because you think, because you love, because you strive. It is not negotiable because it is not dependent on another person's ability or willingness to see it. To make self-worth negotiable is to hand over the keys to your life, your confidence, and your peace of mind to someone who may not be equipped to handle them with care. Walking away is not the absence of love, it is the affirmation of worth. It is the recognition that no person, regardless of charm, history, or potential, has the right to diminish your value. Every word that diminishes you, every action that disrespects you, every expectation that asks for compromise at the expense of your dignity is a test, and the answer lies in your willingness to honor your self-worth. It is the courage to say, without argument or apology, that your value cannot be discounted, manipulated, or overlooked. Self-worth is the shield that protects you from emotional exploitation, from repeated disappointment, and from patterns that erode your spirit. Self-worth is also the lens through which you interpret intentions, behavior, and communication. A man who truly values you will never question your boundaries, belittle your achievements, or disregard your needs. His actions will be aligned with his words, his promises will reflect his intentions, and his presence will honor your essence. Conversely, a man whose behavior consistently contradicts his words, whose respect is conditional, or whose care is intermittent is signaling that he does not recognize the standard you have set for yourself. To tolerate this is to negotiate your worth, and once self-worth becomes negotiable, it is only a matter of time before emotional exhaustion, resentment, and self-doubt accumulate. It is essential to cultivate a sense of self-worth that is independent of external circumstances. This does not mean isolation or cold detachment from others. It means cultivating a foundation of clarity, respect, and self-recognition. It means knowing that love, Attention and validation from others are enhancements to your life, not determinants of your value. When you operate from a place of non-negotiable self-worth, every choice you make, whether to invest, engage, or disengage, is guided by alignment with your values, not desperation, fear, or the hope of earning approval. You do not bend to avoid conflict, you do not stay to avoid loneliness, and you do not compromise to maintain superficial harmony. Your standard is fixed, unwavering, and sacred. Every time you assert your worth, you are sending a signal, not just to the world, but to yourself that your life, your energy, and your presence are precious. Every boundary you enforce, every action you take that reflects respect for yourself, reinforces the truth that your worth is not conditional, negotiable, or temporary. You do not need to justify your boundaries to anyone who refuses to honor them. You do not need to explain why your time, your energy, and your heart cannot be wasted on those who fail to see their value. Self-worth is the silent, unwavering power that governs your choices, shapes your relationships, and attracts the respect, love, and alignment you deserve. When a man speaks in ways that diminish your confidence, belittle your achievements, or question your value, remember that it is not your job to negotiate your worth to fit his comfort or perception. It is your responsibility to honor it, protect it, and reinforce it in every decision, every interaction, and every boundary you maintain. Self-worth is not flexible. It is not subject to debate, bargaining, or reinterpretation. It is the unshakable recognition of your intrinsic value, the quiet yet powerful assertion that you will not settle for anything less than the respect, honesty, and care that mirrors the love you offer. Patterns over promises. This is a truth that women often overlook, seduced by words that sound good in the moment, dazzled by charm, or convinced by fleeting declarations of intention. Promises are easy to make, anyone can say them. They require no effort, no consistency, no courage, and no alignment with reality. A man can promise the world, speak of love that seems boundless, whisper of loyalty, and yet if his actions do not follow, those words are meaningless. Patterns, however, are the true measure of intention. They are the rhythm of behavior, the repeated choices that reveal the character beneath the surface, the roadmap of his values, priorities, and respect. If a man says something once, it may be a momentary lapse, a misstep, or a hopeful declaration. If he says it consistently and his behavior contradicts it, then it is no longer a promise, it is a warning. Life is lived in moments, not statements. A man can tell you that he loves you, that he will be faithful, that he will honor you, but if his daily choices, words, and presence do not reflect those commitments, then the promises are nothing but noise. Patterns over promises is a principle that recognizes the truth of human behavior. What a person repeatedly does, how he consistently treats you, and the choices he continually makes are far more revealing than any speech, any declaration, or any charming gesture. One-off actions can be misleading, repeated behavior is unarguable. A man who consistently cancels plans, disregards your feelings, or fails to follow through is revealing, again and again, what he truly prioritizes. And if you ignore these patterns, you are choosing to believe in illusions rather than truth. Promises are fragile, patterns are durable. A man can promise change, affection, attention, or loyalty in a moment of convenience or desire, but patterns cannot be faked for long. Over time, inconsistency, neglect, and misalignment become apparent. This is why women must train themselves to observe, not only to hear. Do not be deceived by eloquent words, beautiful speeches, or apologies that sound rehearsed. Look at what he does repeatedly, the choices he makes when it is inconvenient, the words he speaks when no one is watching. These patterns are not accidental. They are deliberate, conscious or unconscious reflections of his priorities and intentions. Every repeated behavior, every small action that occurs without thought or effort communicates who he truly is and how he values you. Consider the difference between a man who promises and a man whose actions follow through. The first may say, "I will call you tonight," and fail to do so. The second may never make grand promises, but consistently shows up at the right time, listens when you need him, and invests in you without being reminded. One is words without substance. The other is substance without unnecessary decoration. Patterns over promises teaches women to value what is consistent, reliable, and aligned rather than what is charming, convenient, or convincing. Life is too short to invest in men who speak beautifully but act poorly, who promise endlessly but never deliver. Patterns also reveal character in ways that words cannot. A man who repeatedly manipulates, lies, or dismisses your feelings is demonstrating his true nature regardless of what he says. A man who consistently invests, respects, and prioritizes your well-being is revealing his reliability, his integrity, and his capacity for genuine care. Patterns are the unspoken truth behind the curated image a man may project. They are the fingerprint of intention, unaltered by temporary emotion, circumstance, or desire. Paying attention to these patterns is not cynicism, it is clarity. It is the recognition that the world is built on action, not rhetoric, and that love, respect, and trust are earned through repetition, alignment, and consistency. Women often convince themselves that promises will eventually translate into patterns, that love will soften neglect, that time will change inconsistency into devotion. But this is an illusion. Time does not change patterns, it only reinforces them. A man who consistently disrespects your time, disregards your needs, or fails to honor commitments is unlikely to suddenly transform. Patterns over promises is the wisdom to see beyond words and to evaluate a man by what he repeatedly demonstrates rather than what he occasionally claims. It is the courage to trust reality over hope, truth over charm, and evidence over desire. Every relationship, every connection, every investment of love and energy should be measured not by what is promised, but by what is proven. Words can inspire, comfort, or deceive. Patterns reveal the truth, steady, unflinching, undeniable. When a man says one thing but repeatedly does another, the pattern is the message. It is the reality of who he is, how he thinks, and what he is willing to give. To ignore patterns in favor of promises is to build your life on sand, unstable, unreliable, and susceptible to disappointment. To honor patterns over promises is to build your life on rock, grounded in truth, clarity, and the unwavering recognition of what you deserve. Emotional manipulation is toxic. It is subtle, often disguised as love, care, or concern, yet it corrodes the foundation of your self-respect, clarity, and peace. A man who manipulates emotionally does not value you. He values control. He does not seek connection, he seeks compliance. He does not desire mutual respect, he desires influence over your choices, your feelings, and your reality. Emotional manipulation is not accidental, it is a deliberate strategy, conscious or unconscious, to shift your perception, cloud your judgment, and compromise your boundaries. It wears many faces: guilt, shame, fear, flattery, exaggeration, but its core intention is always the same: to bend you to his will rather than meet you in equality. Recognizing it is the first step toward reclaiming your power, your dignity, and your emotional autonomy. Many women fail to recognize manipulation because it is often cloaked in affection. I only did this because I love you. If you cared about me, you would. You're overreacting. I was joking. These phrases are classic instruments of manipulation. They are designed to make you question yourself, your perceptions, and even your worth. The manipulator's goal is not to engage in honest communication or resolve conflict. It is to create dependency, uncertainty, and doubt. Every time you allow manipulation to influence your thoughts, decisions, or emotions, you are inadvertently reinforcing a cycle that chips away at your confidence. Toxicity is not loud or violent, it is quiet, insidious, and repeated, and it thrives on subtle erosion rather than blatant attacks. Emotional manipulation is dangerous because it preys on your desire to care, love, and to forgive. It exploits empathy and kindness, twisting your generosity into guilt, your patience into compliance, and your love into a weapon against yourself. A man who manipulates will exploit your good intentions as evidence of weakness or leverage. He will frame your boundaries as unreasonable, your emotions as irrational, and your requests for honesty as selfish. In this way, manipulation is never about fairness or balance. It is about bending reality until it serves the manipulator's needs while destabilizing yours. Understanding this is crucial. The toxicity of emotional manipulation is not in what he says alone, but in the pattern of undermining your mental clarity, destabilizing your self-worth, and redirecting your energy away from your priorities toward his control. A woman who tolerates manipulation is not weak, she is uninformed, unarmed, and often unaware of the subtle traps she faces. Toxicity operates under the guise of normalcy, making excuses for poor behavior, appealing to emotions, or replaying old grievances to manipulate response. A man who consistently twists conversations, reframes reality, or weaponizes your emotions is revealing his lack of respect and his willingness to erode your sense of stability. Emotional manipulation is never accidental. It is a conscious or unconscious attempt to maintain power in the relationship at the expense of equality, clarity, and mutual respect. Recognizing it is not an act of paranoia, it is an act of self-preservation. Boundaries are the antidote to manipulation. When you identify that a man's words, actions, or emotional tactics are designed to manipulate, you reclaim control by refusing to engage on terms that compromise your peace. Saying no, enforcing limits, or walking away is not cruelty, it is clarity. It is the recognition that your emotional well-being, your sense of reality, and your autonomy are non-negotiable. Manipulation only works when it is tolerated. It only persists when doubt, fear, or hope allow it to flourish. Once you refuse to play by the rules of someone else's agenda, the power of manipulation diminishes, and the toxicity cannot sustain itself. Emotional manipulation is also dangerous because it distorts your perception of love, care, and connection. It blurs the line between affection and control, leaving you confused, doubting your judgment, and questioning your instincts. A man who manipulates emotionally does not love you as you deserve to be loved. He loves the version of you he can control. He will praise you, charm you, and even show tenderness, but only when it serves his agenda. True respect, true care, and true partnership are consistent, aligned, and reciprocal. Manipulation is never reciprocal. It is always one-sided, always controlling, always toxic. Recognizing the signs, the guilt trips, the subtle threats, the passive-aggressive comments, the constant reframing is essential to protect your mental clarity and your self-worth. Women often justify manipulation by attributing it to stress, mood, or circumstance. But emotional manipulation is not circumstantial. It is a pattern of control. It does not happen once and disappear. It is repeated, refined, and persistent. Each instance is a test of boundaries, patience, and self-respect. Responding with excuses, forgiveness, or compromise only reinforces the behavior, signaling that your boundaries can be bent and your clarity can be questioned. Toxicity thrives in uncertainty, confusion, and compromise. The antidote is awareness, firmness, and decisive action. The moment you recognize manipulation for what it is, you reclaim your power, your emotional clarity, and your ability to choose relationships that honor rather than erode your worth. Emotional manipulation is toxic because it attacks the core of who you are, your sense of reality, your judgment, and your self-respect. It is not love, it is control. It is not care, it is coercion. It is not partnership, it is dominance disguised as affection. And the only way to protect yourself from its toxicity is to recognize it, to name it, and to refuse to accept it. A man who manipulates emotionally does not belong in a space where equality, respect, and clarity are valued. Protecting your emotional space, maintaining your boundaries, and walking away from repeated manipulation are not acts of cruelty, they are acts of preservation, strength, and unwavering self-respect. Walking away reclaims power. It is the ultimate act of self-respect, clarity, and sovereignty over your own life. To walk away is not an admission of defeat, nor is it a sign of weakness. It is a declaration that your value, your time, your energy, and your peace of mind are non-negotiable. Every moment you spend in a situation that diminishes your worth, disrespects your boundaries, or manipulates your emotions chips away at your sense of self. To remain in such circumstances is to surrender your power, to hand over the reins of your life to someone who does not see or honor your value. Walking away, by contrast, is the conscious choice to reclaim that power, to reclaim your agency, and to insist that the space you occupy in the world is one where respect, alignment, and reciprocity are non-negotiable. Many women struggle with the decision to walk away because of fear, attachment, or the illusion of potential. They convince themselves that love can change a man, that patience can turn inconsistency into reliability, or that loyalty will eventually be reciprocated. But power is not found in hoping, waiting, or compromising. It is found in clarity, action, and alignment with truth. Walking away is not about punishing someone else. It is about choosing yourself over excuses, over empty promises, over patterns of neglect or disrespect. Every time you walk away from someone who does not honor you, you reinforce the truth of your value. You send a message to yourself first and to the world second that you will not tolerate behavior that diminishes your presence, undermines your worth, or disrupts your peace. Walking away is a practice of courage. It requires honesty with yourself about what is acceptable and what is not. It requires the willingness to let go of attachments, comforts, and illusions that no longer serve your well-being, To leave is not to abandon love, it is to abandon compromise that costs your dignity, your energy, and your emotional stability. A man who consistently disrespects, manipulates, or dismisses you cannot suddenly transform his behavior simply because you remain. Patterns over promises, words over gestures, consistency over charm, these principles reveal that walking away is not a reaction, it is a strategic choice grounded in self-respect and reality. Power is reclaimed not in confrontation, not in debate, and not in arguments designed to change someone else, but in action that honors your own truth. When you walk away, you remove yourself from the arena of manipulation, disrespect, and misalignment. You refuse to feed a system that erodes your confidence, drains your energy, and clouds your judgment. Walking away is the conscious act of reclaiming authority over your emotions, over your life, and over the narrative that dictates how you are treated. It is the realization that no amount of explanation, pleading, or compromise can force respect or alignment from someone who is unwilling to give it freely. Walking away also redefines boundaries. It communicates without words the lines that cannot be crossed, the behavior that will not be tolerated, and the value that cannot be questioned. A man who truly respects you will see walking away not as abandonment, but as a reflection of the standard you uphold. Walking away is not a punishment for him, it is an affirmation for you. It affirms that your time is worth honoring, your energy is worth protecting, and your heart is worth safeguarding. It affirms that you will not allow patterns of neglect, manipulation, or disrespect to dictate the course of your life. The act of leaving is transformative. It restores clarity to your mind, lightness to your spirit, and strength to your choices. It reminds you that your power lies not in hoping to change someone else, but in controlling how you engage with the world, how you invest your energy, and how you honor your own value. Walking away is a statement: I am not defined by your actions. I am defined by how I choose to respect myself. It is an act of liberation, freeing you from cycles of disappointment, frustration, and emotional exhaustion. Walking away is also an act of self-preservation. Emotional manipulation, inconsistency, neglect, and disrespect are toxic patterns that erode mental health, confidence, and peace. Remaining in such an environment allows the erosion to continue, leaving you weakened and dependent on validation that will never arrive. To walk away is to shield yourself from harm, to prioritize your well-being, and to cultivate spaces that reflect your worth, not compromise it. It is the conscious choice to stop investing energy where it is unappreciated and to redirect it toward people, opportunities, and situations that honor your presence, respect your boundaries, and align with your values. Finally, walking away reclaims power because it affirms your agency. You are not powerless in the face of disrespect or manipulation. You have the capacity to decide, to act, and to prioritize yourself above all else. Power is not about controlling others, it is about controlling your response, choosing your environment, and protecting your heart. Walking away demonstrates strength, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. It is the embodiment of the principle that your peace, your worth, and your energy are priceless. By leaving situations that compromise these, you reclaim your life, your dignity, and your ability to engage with the world from a place of strength and authenticity.